Volkanovski versus Lopes. That was the fight I really wanted to see. All-time great featherweight champion, one of the, for sure, greatest fighters of all time. A shoe-in for the Hall of Fame, but he's 36. Diego Lopes. He's one of the front runners, in my opinion. First of all, how the does that guy make 145?
Despite a lot of criticism about the matchup, Diego Lopes and Alexander Volkanovski are all set to fight for the featherweight title at UFC 325, and Joe Rogan is also excited for it. However, the question still remains valid that why Lerone Murphy and Movsar Evloev were robbed off a title fight. Lerone Murphy is also very disappointed by the UFC's matchmaking, making it clear that the only thing bothering him is losing the chance to face Alexander Volkanovski. He explains that ever since joining the UFC in 2019, Volkanovski had been the target he worked toward, the matchup he built his training and goals around. Even after Volk lost the belt, Murphy still wanted that fight more than anything. He adds that it was never about the payday. He simply wanted the chance to share the cage with Volkanovski and prove he could beat him.
The only thing I'm about, like I said, is not getting the opportunity to fight against Volkanovski. I know he's going to retire after this, so I've always wanted to, since I got signed to the UFC in 2019, my goal was to go Volkanovski. That's when he become champion. So the last 6 years, I know he got beat by Topuria, but the last 6 years, my aim's been Volkanovski. I need to get to that level. That's my goal. That's been repeating in my head when I'm training, whatever. But to get that's the only thing I'm bothered about. I'm not bothered about the money and whatnot. I want to fight against Volkanovski. I want to say I beat Volkanovski. That's it.
Lerone Murphy pushed back at Diego Lopes for telling the featherweights to get to work. He said no one could say that to him after winning 9 straight fights and taking on every opponent the UFC offered. He added that he even did the UFC a favor by accepting the Aaron Pico matchup on just 3 weeks' notice, calling Pico a dangerous fighter and easily a top 5 talent in the division. Murphy pointed out that he went in and knocked Pico out, making it clear he had already done more than enough.
What did you make of the tweets from Diego? Once the news came out, there were a couple here. Here's one: take the risks, accept the fights they're offering you, do a good job and presentation. This is translation, so it probably means promotion there. And then we'll talk mustache season is coming, see you in Australia. And then I do believe there was another one saying, my face when I saw everyone crying, sitting around, he won't give you a title fight, get to work and stop whining on social media. Do you think that was directed at you?
I don't know. I don't know, and I don't care either. I'm not crying, and you can't tell me to get to work. I've got 9 fights in a row won, so no one can tell me to get to work. I fought whoever the UFC's given me. I've not ducked fights. I've said yes, and in my opinion, I've done the UFC a favor taking the Pico fight on 3 weeks' notice. He's a dangerous guy. I believe he's top 5 in the division for sure. I feel like he's one of the best there, and I went out and knocked him out.
Din Thomas also admitted that Lerone Murphy had earned a title shot by doing everything the UFC asked of him, but he acknowledged that Diego Lopes generated more excitement and attention. He felt Murphy deserved the opportunity on merit, yet understood why the promotion leaned toward Lopes, since his star power created bigger buzz and helped elevate major events.
Now we both know I know who I think deserves a shot at the title. Lerone Murphy. Lerone Murphy, to me, deserves a shot at the title. He's done everything the UFC's asked of him, but he doesn't scream entertainment, and Diego Lopes does. And it's just in terms of flipping a fight 1 week, another numbered event the next week, you got to go with the guy who's gonna sell. Like, I think it's important for Paramount to get off to a really good start if they're going to drive subscriptions and want more people to watch. And it's honestly better for the sport itself to have this fight as opposed to the meritocracy of having Lerone Murphy, because he deserves it. I think Lerone Murphy does deserve it, or Movsar, like so it's not clear that Lerone does, or even Movsar, but Diego Lopes, man, he's an entertainer and people watch him.
Alexander Volkanovski's coach, Joe Lopes, explained that they originally expected Lerone Murphy to get the title shot, as that was what they had been told early on. About a week or two after Diego Lopes' last fight, the UFC informed them that the matchup had changed. He added that Volkanovski was initially lined up to headline a December card, and everything had been structured around that plan before the switch to Lopes was made.
How long ago did you find out that it was actually going to be Diego? Because it was supposed to be Murphy initially, right? That's what all the reports were. That's what kind of like Alex was talking about.
Yeah, it was that's what they'd given us. Probably, I'd say a week or two after Diego's fight, they put that on the table to us. Because initially we were going to be fighting in December, that we were going to headline this December card, and we were all set for that.
Adin Ross gives his take on this rematch and predicts that Diego Lopes comes out on top. He says that Diego Lopes will beat the featherweight legend Alex Volkanovski and gets the title. Ross makes it clear he still loves Volkanovski, but argues that Volk was saved twice in their first fight and that Lopes had huge moments, including scoring knockdowns. In Adin's view, those sequences showed enough to convince him that Diego would take the rematch.
If Diego Lopes and Volk rematch, which they are, Diego wins that fight. I love Volk, but do you guys understand that Volk got saved twice that fight? He won 4-1, yes. Lopez also, he couldn't see his family. That was mental. Number 2, he didn't get knocked out, and he got 2 knockdowns on Volk.
Charles Oliveira clarified the rumored matchup with Max Holloway, stating it won't take place in January. He emphasized that the fight is still on the table, noting that both he and Holloway want it, and fans are eager to see it as well.
Não tem nada certo na minha luta. Eu e o Max Holloway para janeiro, tá? Tô de férias, tô com a minha família. Saiu os últimos dias e tem muita gente me ligando, muita gente me marcando. Até o momento não sabemos de nada, né? E com certeza essa luta não será em janeiro, tá bom? Então, só para deixando bem claro aí, mas a luta vai acontecer. Eu quero, ele também quer, vocês também querem, então a gente tá só pelo contrato, mas eu creio que essa luta deve ser lá para março, abril, né? Então estamos só no aguardo. Para janeiro, não, tô de férias, não tem nada. Então creio que logo a gente tem notícia. Se soltaram porque alguma coisa tem, mas é isso. Agora não, logo sim.
Max Holloway also confirmed he is ready for the fight and insists he remains the best boxer in the UFC. He trusts his own skills and credits his confidence for keeping him among the elite. Holloway added that online critics and negative comments do not affect his focus or mindset.
I think a lot of people are going to tell me like, you're not, blah, blah, because of the fight with Elia, but it is what it is, bro. That's your problem. If you don't think I'm the best boxer in the UFC, that's something you need to take up with yourself. When I look myself in the mirror, I tell myself I'm the best boxer in the UFC, and that's why I'm one of the best fighters in the world. You just need self-confidence. What it is, no internet guy that lives with his mom that's talking to me on his mom's internet is ever gonna shake me. Everybody's like, oh, why you reply to them? Because it's funny. You know what I mean? Like, I love to, cause a little drama here and there. Talk back to them, but it is what it is, man. Half of these guys don't even have real pictures of themselves out there, and they don't even use their real names, so their self-confidence is not where it needs to be, so I am who I am.
Max Holloway shares his thoughts on possibly fighting on the White House card. He says the idea is cool, with around 5,000 people attending in person and tens of thousands watching on screens, but he's not sure if he'll actually be included. Holloway adds that it would be disappointing if his family couldn't get close seats, since he's used to having them ringside as he progressed in the UFC.
Thing with John Jones coming back, I think the card idea is cool, but I mean, there's no American champion. I mean, the only American champion is the BMF title, so you're looking at the man. So am I going to be at the card? I like my odds of being on it, but I don't know too much. I really wanted to be on it because I heard that's only going to have like 5,000 people on the lawn, and then they're going to have like across the street, they're going to have like 80,000 people at screens watching and stuff, which is cool. But the 5,000 people, I don't know if my family would be able to have seats there. So at the end of the day, it kind of sucked not having your family members there, especially when I worked my way up so high in the UFC to where I'm so used to having them in like really close ringside and stuff, and them just being there. So
Max Holloway talks about the possibility of fighting on the White House card, calling the idea exciting given the 5,000 in-person attendees and tens of thousands watching on screens. He noted, however, that he isn't certain he'll be part of it, and added that it would be disappointing if his family couldn't get close seats, as he's accustomed to having them ringside throughout his UFC career.
Odds of me being in there is probably high, like I said, because there's no UFC American that's a champion, but me with the BMF title. So we'll see what happens. First things first, just get you this injury, and hopefully I can get a fight early in the year, like around March, April, and see if I can do a turnaround. If they hold me, it's just so long. I fought Poirier in June, and the card is gonna be in June, so that'd be a long wait for me.
However, Charles Oliveira already said that he is ready to fight anywhere, even in Holloway's home turf. He expressed full confidence, saying the location doesn't matter as long as the fight happens, and suggested March is the ideal month to make the matchup official.
Max Holloway did it live right now. He said he wouldn't fight you in Brazil.
Uma luta que interessa a ele.
But it's a fight that interests him.
Teria que ter nos termos dele.
But it would be in his terms.
Não, na realidade, os termos dele é os mesmos termos do UFC.
His terms are the same as the UFC. It can be in his house. If it's not in Brazil, it can be anywhere in the world. He doesn't think that the UFC will do an event in Hawaii, and he doesn't want to wait for the White House.
Mas ele citou a data de março.
But he mentioned March, which would be a good date for him. It's perfect. It's a perfect fight. It would be awesome to see Hawaii.
Max Holloway expressed confusion over Charles Oliveira being ranked above him in the lightweight division. He argued that after his win over Dustin, he should have moved ahead, while Oliveira, who faced a lower-ranked opponent, suddenly jumped above him, leaving Holloway questioning the UFC's ranking system. Max Holloway said, "Me beating Dustin puts me ahead of him, which I was ahead of him for some time. Then he fought someone who was like ranked number 10, then all of a sudden magically moved above me without me fighting, so I don't know how the UFC rankings work." However, let's get back to our main topic, as a lot of MMA fans and pros have criticized the matchmakers for picking Diego Lopes over the top contenders who have been waiting to get a shot with a better resume than Diego's. Alex Volkanovski's head coach, Joe Lopes, admitted he was surprised to see Diego Lopes land the title shot. He felt that on paper, Movsar Evloev and Lerone Murphy looked more deserving, while stressing he had no criticism toward Lopes as a fighter. Lopes said the choice ultimately belonged to the UFC, and their job now was simply to accept the matchup and focus on preparing for it.
When did you guys find out it was going to be Diego Lopes again? What was your reaction that you guys were going to rematch him straight away like this?
I guess it was a bit of a shock, like to anybody, because no disrespect to Diego, because I think he's a great fighter, but we just beat him, Mosvald and Murphy, I think, on paper are probably more deserving of that title shot, but we don't call the shots. That's up to the UFC, and they've given us Diego, so that's the card they've given us, and that's the one we've got to play.
Joe Lopes explained that they initially expected the title shot to go to Movsar Evloev, Lerone Murphy, or the winner of Murphy versus Pico. When Murphy scored a highlight reel knockout, they felt confident he would be the one. But Diego Lopes produced an explosive KO of his own, and that performance shifted the direction of the matchup completely.
It's going to be either Mosvard or Murphy, or the winner out of Murphy and can't remember who Murphy
and Pico, Aaron Pico.
Yes. And so we had that sort of, it was going to be out of Murphy or Pico, and maybe a Mosvard, but we didn't really have much hope on that. And then when Murphy had that spectacular KO, we said, yeah, it's Murphy, and all indications and everything, led to Murphy. Till Diego had his spectacular KO and everything changed.
Luke Thomas sharply criticized the UFC over the recent fight announcement, saying the fan backlash is fully justified. He argued that decisions like this slowly undermine the sport's credibility and make the product feel less valuable. Thomas believes the promotion is prioritizing short-term profit instead of creating matchups that clearly determine the division's top fighter.
You are going to hollow out your product doing shit like this long enough. It's not just that you're not meeting expectations, you're just not. The fight business has always been one of manipulation. The fight business has always been one of the promoters massaging stuff to get what they want. It's a part and parcel of what they do. This is hardly some new practice, right? But it feels like there are moments in time where you can't really f around with that, and that's kind of what we're getting here. We're getting a lot of that. We're getting fights where there's obvious ways to go a different direction and they just don't go that direction, clearly because they've got some other aim in terms of how they want to generate revenue. They're just extracting wealth out of the bout rather than matchmaking for a real clear sense of who's the best.
On the other hand, Din Thomas commented on the possibility of Alexander Volkanovski retiring after his next fight. He noted that a loss could signal the end of Volkanovski's career, given his Hall of Fame status. However, if Volkanovski wins, Thomas expects him to continue defending the title, likely against Lerone Murphy or Movsar Evloev.
Do you think this will be Volkanovski's final fight? It's all there, 37 years old. He said his family wanted him to retire after the last one. He's been open about that. It's back in Sydney. He hasn't fought there in 3 years. I don't know. It feels like the stage is kind of set here.
I think if he loses, this might be it for him. You know, I mean, he's a Hall of Famer. Come on, man. Like, it's
of course.
You know, so if he loses, this might be it for him. If he wins, there's no way he's going to continue to fight until he loses. If he wins this fight, he's going to fight the next challenger, whoever that may be, Lerone or Movsar. But if he loses, this is probably it for him.
Aljamain Sterling also raised concerns over Diego Lopes receiving the title shot. He recognized the UFC's aim to highlight champions from Mexico and Brazil, but questioned what the true criteria were. Sterling noted that the organization used to prioritize the best fighters, yet now popularity seems to outweigh merit.
So I'm just trying to make it make sense in my head. I get what they're trying to do. They're trying to get us a champion that could represent Mexico and pretty much Brazil too. It's just, what is the criteria? That is all I want to know. I just want something that when we come into this sport, because I'm now 36, I got into this sport when I was 24, and merit used to mean something for the most part. The UFC used to be the organization, the best fights the best. Now it's, are you the most popular guy? Because if you're the most popular guy and you can fight just a little bit, we'll throw you in there. As long as you can fight a little bit and beat some of the best guys or beat some favorable matchups that people might know, but it's enough for you to get a highlight win, we'll put you in that spot. And hopefully, if you're lucky, we cash out.
Aljamain Sterling further criticized the UFC's decision-making, saying it doesn't make sense. He explained that fighters are told the best compete against the best, but opportunities aren't always given. He pointed out that Lerone Murphy took a risky fight against Aaron Pico, a tough opponent with knockout power, and won with a spinning elbow, yet still didn't get a title shot. Sterling emphasized that he faced the same opponent Diego Lopes defeated to earn his shot, even while dealing with an injury, but still wasn't rewarded with a title opportunity.
It doesn't make any sense. Because we come in, we are told the best guys will fight the best guys. You eat what you kill. Well, how can you kill something if you're not given the opportunity? Now you have Lerone Murphy, takes a risky fight against a Bellator guy in Aaron Pico. Big risky fight, a guy who can punch his ass off, can wrestle his ass off. Yeah, he might not have ever been the Bellator champ, but he's still a tough out. He knocks him out. Spinning elbow. Doesn't get the shot either. I beat Brian Ortega. And you can make all the excuses you want for the win. Literally through a spinning elbow, my arm is dead for the last 2 rounds. 10 minutes. At the end of round 3, meaning rounds 4 and 5, I had one arm to fight with. I beat the guy that Diego Lopes beat to get a title shot.
MMA Guru also voiced frustration over the UFC's recent choices, questioning the promotion's direction. He noted that no matter who gets a title shot, critics will find fault. Even if Lerone Murphy were chosen, some would argue he hasn't faced the right opponents. Guru highlighted that the real challenge stems from the current depth of the division, which now features far more legitimate contenders than in the past.
What are they doing? What are they doing with this? Of all the decisions they could make, there's some that we wouldn't have been happy with. Listen, I understand that, like, no matter what, it wouldn't have been ideal. You pick Murphy to fight. Oh, he ain't beat no one. He's acting like he's Tony Ferguson of the division. There would have been these complaints. Like, oh, what? He took Josh Emmett to a decision? Even though that's what Ilya got his belt. Different Josh Emmett, different circumstance. You have an abundance of people to give a title shot here. It's not just Ilya or nothing, you know? Like it was back then.
So that's all we have from today's video, and hopefully you enjoyed it. Share your thoughts about the UFC 325 fight card in the comments section, and subscribe to our channel to get more updates about UFC.